almost to the end of the review here. Big shout out to the Doe family, twins John and Jane in my class, and this is a question from John. The answer is because the newspaper industry wants you to be here. The question is, easy for me to say, why is the public education system so inexpensive in community colleges and free in K through 12? Well, believe it or not, this has a direct connection to the newspaper industry way back 100 years ago when it first started, more than 100 years ago. Newspapers were a penny. You could buy a newspaper on the street for a penny. But the newspaper barons, the big wealthy owners of the newspapers, couldn't sell it to the public if nobody could read. So guess what? They spent a lot of money to support public education, and they also lobbied heavily in their news reports, in their editorials. They wanted the public to be able to read so they could sell their newspapers. Isn't that interesting? So you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the newspaper industry going all the way back to when, just after actually, the printing press was invented and people decided they wanted to create a business model to sell newspapers and to, promote the advertising in the newspapers that brought customers to the merchants who were advertising. So that's going to be on the final exam. It's kind of a big concept, actually, something that you could read about in your textbook. You probably won't, but I tell you what, if you watch my review, if you watch the little videos that I have linked here in the review, you'll have a pretty good chance of doing well on that final exam. One thing that I might suggest that you do is go over that unit on media law that we had last week. It's very important. There'll be a lot of questions about libel, about slander, about invasion of privacy. Something else you could do so that you'll do really well on the final exam is look up some of the things that I lectured about before we all were told that we had to stay home and that this was going to be 100% online. What rhymes with mayonnaise and invented propaganda? Edward Bernays, right? Look up Edward Bernays. We had a whole lecture about him. Let's see, what else? Look at the video game industry unit that we had right after we went 100% online. Go over your notes, organize them, because the exam will be timed. It will be a 60-minute exam, and if your notes are well organized, you won't have to go scrambling through everything. It's a good idea just for the overall concept of learning and mastering this material that we studied in this class. You did learn a lot. I think when you take the final exam, one thing I'd like you to think about is that the exam is as important as a teaching tool as it is a method to evaluate you and decide what your grade is going to be. If you got something wrong, look at the right answer, put it in your heart, put it in your brain, and when you take courses beyond mine, you'll be surprised. This is stuff you're expected to know in college. So when you take the exam, good luck. I'll be cheering for you. I'd like to see a lot of good grades out there.